Hello world! Today I am going to try out for the first time the Kat Von D Lock It Foundation and Concealer and the foundation and concealer brushes from Kat Von D. Hey everybody, Shelly here, and today I am checking out for the first time the Kat Von D Lock It Foundation and Concealer and the foundation and concealer brushes that Kat came out with. Now, I am not one that typically applies their foundation with a brush, but I'm going to try these out. The foundation I've been wanting to try for a while, but I've hesitated because I'm not typically a full coverage kind of girl. I don't need full coverage. I've just got some sunspots and hyperpigmentation to cover up, so that I can usually get away with medium coverage for that. And typically full coverage foundations settle into my fine lines and make my dry skin look really even more dry. So you get into that space where you have crepey under eyes and lines around your mouth and you're starting to get lines on your forehead, that 40 plus kind of age group when your skin starts to show some signs of age, and typically full coverage foundations don't work out for me. But I love Kat Von D's products and I've wanted to try this one for a long time because I actually love the look of full coverage, that sort of, I don't know what you would even call it, doll face kind of a thing. Like, I love the look, but I've never been able to pull it off on my skin. So I decided to try this out. This is shade Light 44. Now, this foundation comes in a 1 ounce bottle. You pay $35 for it, but it is available in a total of 30 shades. Now, Light 44 is not the lightest shade. There are actually 2 shades, 3 shades if you count the warm tone one, that are lighter than this. So to have so many options on the fair end of the spectrum is amazing. Usually I buy the lightest shade in whatever brand and it's still not quite light enough for me. I actually tried shade Light 42 initially and it was too light. So that's a great problem to have if you've got fair skin. So we should, through this line, be able to address the fairest of the fair skin. The other thing this is touted as, besides being full coverage, it's a high pigment full coverage foundation with a matte finish, 24-hour wear. All the shades are marked, labeled, named with their undertones, which makes it a lot easier to figure out what shade is going to work for you. So we're going to check out the Kat Von D Lock It Concealer as well. So I've got this in shade Light 1 Neutral. My skin tone is essentially neutral with cool undertones. I can get away with wearing straight up neutral coloring, but I do find that I like the look better when there is a little bit of pink to it. Now, this is just light neutral, so there's no pink to the concealer, but I would say it's totally fine. It might even be a little tiny bit too light for me, which, gosh, I don't even know. That's such a great problem to have. I'm going to swatch out the concealer here so you can see how light it is on my skin, and I'm also going to give you a little swatch here of the foundation. Now, unfortunately, I did not swatch the Light 42 while I had it here at home, but so here it is. So here's the concealer, the Light 41, or Light 1 Neutral concealer, and then this is shade Light 44 in the Lock It foundation. So you can see it does have, there's just a little bit of pink to it, and as I blend it into my hand, we'll blend them both in here and you can see them side by side. You can see it really is a pretty close match for me. So the foundation is just about gone. And the concealer, you can see, is just a shade lighter. You do generally want to take your concealer a shade lighter than your foundation so that you get some brightening effect and some highlight under the eye. So those are the products. Now I've also got the new brushes. So this is brush number 10, the foundation brush. And I don't know if you're going to be able to appreciate the shape of this. So it's tapered to a point. So this is a pointed edge at the top. Both sides are slanted, tapered to that point. It's a wide, dense brush, super, 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 super soft. So the shape of this brush is unlike anything I've seen before or definitely ever tried. And the concealer brush has the same sort of shape going on. So it's got one edge all the way across the top, and both of the sides taper in, slanted diagonally toward that edge. So it's just a really interesting configuration here, and I'm very interested to try them out. The other cool thing about these brushes, I've got them covered in fingerprints, the ends are tapered to a fine point. So if you are mixing colors on a palette or in your palm of your hand like I do, you can use the opposite end of your brushes, and the barrel is completely solid down at this end of the brush. So if you did use this to mix colors, you wouldn't have to worry about it getting caught into any creases or crevices in the brush because it's a solid piece all the way up to the top here. So I think that is a really clever design. I am looking forward to using these. And of course they're Kat Von D, so they're vegan and cruelty free. And they're some nice brushes. Now the Lock-It Edge foundation brush goes for $34 and the Lock-It Edge concealer brush goes for $24 at Sephora. So they are not the cheapest brushes on the planet, but my hope is that they're going to live up to their price tag and be professional level quality brushes that you can hang on to and get use out of for a very long time. So I'm looking forward to these. I'm looking forward to this whole entire review because I do love Kat Von D, and I've followed her as a tattoo artist before she became a beauty makeup guru, and I've loved her brand. So a little bit of fangirling here. I was really excited to receive these products. I purchased them, of course, but I was just excited when UPS brought them to my door, and I'm looking forward to this. So let's get into this and see how this foundation, concealer, and set of brushes does on this 40-something face. I'm going to start out with some serious moisturization. I'm not used to wearing full coverage foundations, and I know that the Kat Von D is touted as a very full coverage foundation. One of the reasons I generally don't wear them is because they tend to look really dry, really cakey, really clingy to dry patches, really settling into fine lines on me. So I'm going to try to combat that by putting down some good moisturization first. All I've got right now is a cleansed face, and I'm going to use the Bobbi Brown Face Base as my primer. It's a really thick sort of moisturizer cream / primer, and I'm hoping that it will lay down enough moisture that my skin doesn't have too many dry patches. I did exfoliate last night, so hopefully that will help as well. This stuff smells so good. It costs a freaking fortune, but it smells so good. Under my eyes, I'm going to go in with my Origins Ginseng. This is a little bit moisturizer, a little bit color corrector, and again, I'm just hoping that with the heavier foundation, this will prevent a little bit of creasing under my eyes and give me a little help with the dark circle situation that I've always got going on. The brushes, I don't usually use a brush to apply my foundation. I usually use a damp beauty blender. So I will do half of my face brush, half of my face with a damp beauty blender just to see what the difference is and how well they apply both ways. But these brushes, from my very first impression, I have to say, they seem amazing. They're unlike anything I've ever used. They're super soft. They're really interesting shapes that get into all the little corners and crevices, and I really liked it for my initial first impression yesterday. So let's do this. So here is the Kat Von D Lock It Foundation. This is again shade Light 44. It is a cool fair shade. Now, one thing I noticed in the bottle I got yesterday and then the bottle I got today, both bottles had like damage. Not severe damage, but scratches, scuffs. This one's got a scratch going down the front of it here, and it's not used because when I take the cap off, there's no product coming out of the pump. It's never been used before, but it's almost like they were not handled well before they were put in the box, because I can't imagine how they would get scratched up or scuffed inside the box. But that's just something I noticed on both of the bottles that I've had in my possession. They were both damaged right out of the box. Not damaged in a way that's gonna hurt how they perform. I mean, it's just a little scratch, but it's a little annoying when you buy a brand new product that you paid a pretty penny for and it's not perfect. But I don't know if these are supposed to be shaken up, but I'm gonna shake it up anyway. And let's see, which side do I want to do first? Let's do the brush this side and we'll do the Beauty Blender this side. And I'm gonna do the brush first just because that's the new to me version of how to do this. I'm thinking yesterday I used 2 pumps total for my whole face, so I'm thinking a pump and a pump should be okay. So let's do this thing. I wish I had one of those cool palettes. Have you ever seen when Kat Von D's makeup guy, I can't think of his name, but he's adorable. He has like a coffin-shaped palette that sits on his wrist that he can use to mix things, and I've seen him use the tapered end of these brushes to mix his colors and such on that palette. I need that palette, and I can't seem to find it anywhere, but I want that palette. But I'm just gonna use the palm of my hands, and we're gonna get a pump out. Whoa, that was fast. And the Kat Von D foundation brush. This is brush number 10. And let's see, now I've watched him put makeup on, and he just goes straight off his palette into applying, so he doesn't smear it all over his face first. I'll probably need more than a pump on this side because I don't think I got a full pump that first time, actually. This color is much better. See how this brush, you can get right up into your nose, into the corner of your eyes, around the corner of your nose. I really like the shape of this brush. And it's super soft and it's super dense. And of course it's vegan and cruelty free because Kat Von D. Coverage is pretty phenomenal. Initially, it does settle a little bit into lines, like the creases around my mouth, but not nearly as bad as I expected. So let's try the Beauty Blender side. Damp Beauty Blender. Honestly, I think it applied nicely both ways. The Beauty Blender is a lot harder to work around the eye area. On both sides, it's settling just a tiny bit into my smile lines, into my neck creases, a little bit in my forehead here. So I'm just gonna blend these out until this all sets, and hopefully it will set not in the creases. It is not at all settling into my pores, which is nice. For concealer, I've got the Kat Von D Lock It Concealer in shade Light 1, which is probably a tiny bit too light, but I do like a highlighting kind of concealer. So I'm going to very lightly use just a tiny bit, because, oh, got a fuzzy on me. Quite honestly, this foundation almost does well enough to be my concealer, which, wow. But now I still have dark circles. Got the new Kat Von D concealer brush. This is brush number 40. Again, it's got that triangular kind of contoured tip to it. And again, it's very dense, so this is different than what I'm used to. I go back and forth using a brush or a beauty blender for my concealer. I tend to prefer a damp mini beauty blender, but sometimes I use a brush. This is pretty bright. Again, the shape of this brush is just so nice. It just fits everywhere. I actually did the brush on the wrong side, so I will use my baby beauty blender on this side. I don't really see a significant difference between the two applications, so I think either one will do. I am going to set my concealer with the RCMA No Color Powder and my damp beauty blender. What do you guys do with this RCMA powder? Like, do you dump it out? Do you just reach your little thing in here? I mean, the thing is that you're not gonna be able to do this for very long because you won't be able to reach down in there. I feel like I'm gonna have to take one of my old tubs from a different product and put this in there, but we'll see. I'm gonna pseudo bake. I like sort of bake, but not really bake. I find that if I catch it right away and do this quickly, I can get a bake to really help smooth my under eye. But if I wait a little too long, it exasperates all the lines and makes it look worse. So I kind of hesitate to start baking because you never know how it's gonna go. I don't feel like I need to set the rest of my face with powder. This foundation is super matte, still collecting in these little lines on my forehead. But it's super matte and I am not oily at all, so I am not inclined to add more dryness to my face. In terms of color match, I think it's pretty good. It's a tiny bit light, but the very little amount of color I have on my neck is going to fade very soon. So here's there's my natural color, which I will fade back to very, very quickly now that the sun is going away. The sun is trying to kill me, you know. Not trying to show you my bra straps here, but you see how pale I am. I think the color is going to be a really good winter match for me. So let me go put the rest of my face on and we'll see where we're at. Here we go, full face is on. I did have to blend out the lines on my forehead and around my mouth a couple times. The foundation seems to have stopped settling into those areas, so we'll see how it goes the rest of the day. I tried a new brush I thought I would mention. It is a NYX, I think they called it the Pro Crease Brush, and really like it. Super soft, had just the right amount of density, but just the right amount of blur smoothness to be a really nice crease and transition brush. This was a impulse buy with one of those, buy one get one half off at Ulta type things, and I really liked it. So here is what we're starting with. Also trying out the new Urban Decay holiday line, the vintage lipsticks in the shade Pallor, because 90s. And on my eyes, I am wearing the Kat Von D Metal Matte palette, which I am in love with. So that's what we got going on. I will check back later and let you know how it's going. Hello again. We are at about the 5.5 hour mark or so. It's going on 6 o'clock p.m. right now. I put my face on. The foundation was done at 12:30 this afternoon, and I would say we're doing okay. Now, I have sneezed about 4,568 times today. I have not blown my nose. I have resisted the desire and an occasional need to blow my nose to avoid ruining the foundation around my nose. But I have been, like I'm going to do right now, it itches so much. I've had a very itchy nose today, so I have touched my face a bit. As far as the nose goes, I am shocked that it's not worn away more than it is. It's really not bad at all. It's wearing away a little bit around the outsides of my nose, but really not bad. I also just realized I forgot to put my lipstick back on. So I had lunch as well. I ate a very messy sandwich that was dripping all over the place, so I did have to pat my face off. I did not touch up powder or foundation or anything after the sandwich, and it's wearing off, foundation's wearing off a little bit around my chin, but that very well could have been sandwich padding that did that. Last thing of note that's happening right now, it is getting a little cakey around my upper lip, especially on this side. And again, that could have been, being disturbed by the napkin as I was trying to eat my sandwich without making a complete disastrous mess. So far, so good. I would say this is definitely an acceptable level of wear for what I've been putting it through today. I also ran some errands, and it was raining outside, and I had to fill my tires of my Jeep with air, so I was in the rain, and it held up very well to the raindrops that I got on my face. Again, I did not wipe my face afterward. I blotted myself dry, but so far I'd say we're holding up pretty well. I will check in again this evening, and we'll get a final verdict. Time for the final verdict. It is about 8:30 p.m., so I have been wearing this foundation for approximately 8 hours now. The final verdict, I would say I really like it. I'm not going to say I love it in the sense that full coverage is kind of a high maintenance look, and since I don't need the full coverage, it's not going to become my everyday foundation. There's a couple issues that I've got. They're not as bad as they could be. If you look right around my eyebrow and in the center of my eyes, I've got a little bit of a dry patch forming, and I can see the texture where the foundation is emphasizing lines. The concealer, it did not crease in my under eye, but it is emphasizing my sort of crepiness. My under eye looks really dry. My skin is looking a little bit dry altogether. I could probably do even more moisturization before I apply the foundation, which I will do next time. It has not gotten any worse in terms of fading, really. Like it was at the 5-hour check-in. It's a little faded around my nose. Maybe it got a little worse around my chin. I did have dinner since my last check-in. Hasn't gotten worse around my lip, but it is sort of cracky, creasy there. But overall, it looks okay. It's just barely starting to break down on my nose, but overall, I would say it's a thumbs up. It's great for full coverage. I've never found a full coverage foundation that I can actually wear, so in that category, it's fantastic. It's not going to become my everyday foundation, but I like it. I do like it. I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can get a closer look at these things I'm talking about, because all of the lights tend to wash me out and make my skin look a lot better than it actually is. So, brace yourselves. There you have it. The Kat Von D Lock It Foundation is definitely going to make it into regular rotation in my life. The Lock It Concealer, I like it. It is not going to knock out my Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer or my Tarte Shape Tape, which those are my two current favorites right now. It doesn't quite get there in terms of the way it settles or the under eye effect of having creases and wrinkles and lines and things. It's not quite there. I am going to hang on to it. I do like it. I think it goes really well with the foundation. The brushes, yes. That said, I'm a fan of applying my foundation with a damp sponge. So I don't know that I'll use the brush every single time, but I am going to actually try this brush with a bunch of my different foundations and see if any of the foundations that I wear like the brush better, because sometimes foundations do have a preference on how you apply them. I had read that the Kat Von D really worked best with this brush and didn't work so well with a Beauty Blender, but I actually don't see any difference between the Beauty Blender side and the brush side. I think they both had equal coverage and looked just as good. Concealer brush, total win. This is going to get everyday rotation in my world. Definitely, yes. Overall, it's kind of a home run, I guess. Everything turned out well, and that makes me happy because I like to try new things and find new things that I enjoy. So if you'd like to see some more foundation or concealer reviews, give me suggestions down below on what you would like to see in the future. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you have not already. I post videos every single week. Thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to hang out and geek out over makeup with me. Take care of each other and have a good one. Bye-bye.